everybody, thanks a lot for tuning in today. This is going to be a really exciting video because it is a collaboration with one of my good friends here on YouTube. Her name is Heather Austin, and she has a fantastic channel here on YouTube. We have collaborated in the past. We did a fall favorites video not that long ago and thought it might be fun to bring in some spring favorites here as well. But if you haven't yet discovered Heather's channel, I think you would really enjoy her. I personally, what attracts me most to a channel on YouTube, while I do think there's a place for everyone, the performers, the people who come on with a big persona and everything, what I really like to watch is just a real person acting just as though I was in the room with them, you know? And on the topic of makeup, someone who just has such a natural love for it. With me personally, like, I didn't start my channel in order to become famous or to get some massive following. I'm doing this because I really, really love it. And I feel like Heather's the same way. So it's like, I don't know, if you've got that mentality, you can see it in somebody else. And I feel like she just runs her channel for the love of makeup, and I love that. She's got a real passion for it. I love how experimental she can be with some of her looks. She does some beautiful bright looks. It's fun to hear her chat about new products, just watch her get ready with me's, and she's one of our many brave heroes in the healthcare field right now as well. So I've got massive respect for Heather, and she's one of our Southern YouTubers, so if you enjoy a good Southern accent, you'll love her so much. She's super sweet, super genuine, kind, doing it for the love of makeup. So Heather, thanks for collaborating with me on this. I will link to her channel and her video down below. And we haven't shared with each other what our picks are going to be, and I think it's fun, these kinds of videos, when you collaborate, because immediately people get two versions of opinion, you know, on this topic. So when I was thinking of my 10 palettes, I thought immediately of some things that incorporate a little bit of spring-like color. They're not like insanely bold palettes, but they've got some splashes in there, if you know what I mean. So that's kind of one category I'm going to talk about. That's my biggest category because I have 5 palettes to talk about there. Then I've got 3 that are just really, really neutral palettes for my very safe neutral palette lovers, and a couple of face palettes as well. And by the way, tons of shop my stash going on here. As I look at what I've actually chosen, there might be just a couple of what I'd call newer palettes, but so much is stuff that's just been hanging around in my collection for a while. One sort of rediscovery that doesn't go that far back, I believe I was really getting into this around maybe the winter time, Christmas time period, is my Huda Beauty Mercury Retrograde palette. If you have this, consider pulling it back out now, because how beautifully springy is this thing? When I think spring, I think pastels, and I think there's some gorgeous, unique pastel pops in this one. Everything from the mint green looks to a little bit of lilac, some rose for sure. You've also got some golds and some really great neutrals to kind of anchor things, balance things out, go into the crease, and I love that this is happening here, okay? Even despite all this lightness, you've got a couple of really great deep shades to anchor the look. One is a deep burgundy. The other one is kind of a deep blackened plum, I'd call it. So there's a lot of uniqueness here in terms of the textures. You could enjoy a fully matte look out of this palette, but then we've also got shimmers. We've also got things that just have a really, really like glittery look to them. But what I love about this palette is that I've used it quite a bit, and I still feel like I've kind of only scratched the surface of some of the combos. There are still many more color combinations that could be worked with here. Not just saying, okay, it's going to be a mint green eye or it's going to be a lavender eye, but sort of combining those worlds within this palette I think is really fun. So to me, I think it's kind of funny. This came out, was it late last fall, I want to say, but it strikes me as such a fun springtime palette, so definitely pull that back out if you've got it. Here's another rediscovered love from Dominique Cosmetics. Probably my favorite palette in this brand is the Rustic Glam, and to me this could really be a palette for all seasons, but it really follows what I like for spring, which is bringing in some pops of color with your neutrals. And I love the blue, makes me think of those bright blue skies we've been enjoying in our area lately. The greens here are so unique. That cactus shade, you know, that's kind of a hard to peg color, isn't it? Because it's got some life and brightness, but it's not like a really bright green. And then this really shimmery sage green down below it is awesome. When my friend David was over to visit not all that long ago, I remember he really dove into this one doing some swatches, and we had some fun playing around. A terrific pure pink up here, shimmery lavender. Everything is so smooth and really fantastic quality, and I think it allows you to do some of those pops of blue maybe quality without feeling like, okay, this has to be an all-out 100% blue eye. To me, this is about all the blue I really need in a palette. I don't need a fully blue one, but I'll take some of those individual pops and really be able to make use out of them. So I love Rustic Glam. Again, I think it's one of the best palettes in the Dominique Cosmetics line. I mean, they're all great quality, but this is just a series of color combinations that I think is really super fun. Here's another rediscovered favorite that I talked about in a recent video where I was kind of going through my stash and really paying attention to some of those things that spoke to me that I hadn't used in a while. And this one is my Viseart Petite Pro 3. And this I love for spring because it has that redbud tree color. You know, all these trees that are blooming that have this beautiful kind of pinky purpley look to them, that's in here. The beautiful light colored spring green, but you can bring some really interesting depth out of this dark forest green if you start layering those two. It's a row of mattes and a row of shimmers in case you couldn't tell there. But you've got what you need to set up like a nice classic neutral look, but a couple of really fun, beautiful pops. And it kind of takes me back to what I loved in the Too Faced Romantic Eye palette from way back when, and also holds some inspiration for the Once palette too. I mean, I didn't really want to toot my own horn on the Once palette, but I think that's a beautiful spring palette as well. There's some gorgeous pastel pops in there with enough darkness to anchor it and make it really wearable. But the Petite Pro is so nice and compact, a great way to experiment with Viseart's quality in a really affordable way. Here's another one I bet you didn't see coming, the Too Faced White Chocolate Bar palette. I kind of feel like this palette did not get maybe enough love. I feel like if it came out right now, people would be all over this thing. Don't you think, for some reason? Again, with the pastel pops in here, a nice matte lavender. How many times are we getting matte lavender in a palette? A lot of times there's shimmer, but this beautiful matte here, also a matte with mint chocolate. And I think this Frosted Apricot shade actually comes off rather matte as well. So having those really pure colored pops in here is so much fun. And then if you're kind of a cool shadow lover, there's a lot of really pretty cool, kind of knocking on the door of gray with some of these different shades. It smells so good, by the way. Oh, it's got that beautifully sweet scent. But kind of what I'm getting at here is this might be a great thing for cool palette lovers who want still some nice light pops to blend in. Got your peachy pink, your peach, your lilac, your green. Again, it's just enough pop for a lot of people, I think, who just want to take their look and experiment a little bit, get a little outside the plain old neutrals. I'm not even sure if this one is available anymore, but you may have it lurking in your collection. And this is sort of your wake-up call. Hey, you might want to bring that back out again. And the palette that I'm wearing today that I think is really fun for some very wearable pops is my Lime Crime Venus XL2. Now you look at the outside, you're like, whoa, the lime green, the oranges, everything is so pop in there. But look at actually how approachable this palette is on the inside. If I can hold it in such a way that that gold palette is not shining in your face. But basically this is a mix of beautiful earthy rosy shades, also some greens, also some warm browns, and it makes a really, really beautiful look. You do have some deeper shades that can help kind of anchor a look, but the pops in here and the mix of textures is so much fun. You've got some like highly, highly shimmery colors in here. You've also got some more barely there shimmers, like pearlescent kinds of shades, and some really strong mattes as well. So if you look at my look today, I've worked in some of these rosy shades and a little bit of the rich warm browns. In my crease, I've got In Bloom, got some Stella on the lid, a little bit of Eve popped on the lid as well. I've got Classical in my outer corner crease area, and a little bit of Ripe just smudged underneath my eye actually, and a big old full lash. I love the spring green, the kind of sage green colors that are in here as well. You don't have to just stick in one color family, you know, blend in a little bit of green with the rose. It looks really nice. But I really hadn't picked up this palette in quite a long while, but I think the perfect time to do it is definitely spring. It's a great springtime palette. So those are my 5 that I think integrate the most color. As you can see in some, it's just little splashes of color. Some go a little bit further, but they're all really, really fun, and you might just scan your collection, see if you've got anything like that hanging around right now. Because that's really the point here for me. It's not saying like, okay, you must go out and try to purchase these 10 palettes I'm gonna recommend. I think it's more so trying to just trip your idea switch a little bit and maybe give you some thoughts as you go through your collection. And if you like the look of the Venus XL2, for example, but you don't want to go get it, think about what other combos you could pull from other palettes and maybe achieve the look. Now I've got a few palettes that I think are a little more like purely neutral, I would say. One of them I think is such a beautiful spring palette. I mean, this could be a beautiful little Mother's Day gift here. It's the Paris Edit from Viseart. Might be one of my favorite all-around Viseart palettes. You might argue that this actually does have a little color if we want to count the peach and the rosiness happening here, but I love that we've got deep rich plums, some peachy shades too. That is one of the most flattering combinations on an eye, I think. Some interesting cool things happening over in this row with this icy pink and then a really rich charcoal and even some coppery kinds of shades in here. I just feel like you look at that and that's pleasing to my eye for some reason, to look at that combo of shades. I love what they're doing with these edit palettes because they're kind of downsizing the shades from those really larger expensive palettes, but they're still giving you the amazing quality and some really fun combos thrown in. So we're talking every kind of crease shade you might need here, the deep colors to make it as smoky and dramatic or work as eyeliners if you want that. You know, this shade is so great for that. And for those who like light shimmery pops, I mean, they're here, 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 here. I would highly, highly recommend this palette. And again, I think it's a great little giftable palette. Something about it just has such a delicate look to it, but yet the colors are super impactful and very much what you see is what you get. So love that one. Here's another neutral palette that I really, really like, and it's the Too Faced Natural Matte. This is in its newly updated packaging, which is very sleek and really, really, I don't know, impressive. There's a weight to this palette, you know? Kind of different from the cardboard days, isn't it? And this is what this one looks like. I remember running down the differences because this is a little updated with a couple of the shades here since the original Natural Matte, but I think it's so, so pretty and very, very classic. And I described in my satisfying makeup video how much I love a really good purely matte eye in some classic shades, and that's exactly what this offers. Too Faced does mattes really well, I think, and the textures here are just exceptional. So you've got, if you look sideways, here's your classic brown, nothing wild and crazy here, not too warm, a little bit more on the cool side. I'm picturing, you know, this in the crease, this on the lid, this in the outer corner. Wear some nice bold winged liner with that look and a beautiful pop on the lips in any bright pop and shade, and how pretty and fresh is that? You know, clearly this is a palette for all seasons. This works anytime. But if you're looking for a little spring revamp and you like mattes, you might think about it. Here in the middle, things are getting a little bit more plummy. This shade here is kind of a mauvey taupe, I'd say, and then a bit warmer down here on the bottom. Hookup is kind of a dark, warm brown. This shade getting a little warmer. This one a bit more peachy, but everything just blends so effortlessly. I just think it's really hard to argue with that palette. It is the kind of thing you would use all year round, but yet I think could make some really pretty looks for spring too. And where are my cool shadow loving friends out there? This one from Beauty Bakery called Breakfast in Bed is, I think, a really underrated palette. Here's what it looks like. I love the plummy tone overall, and it's got some really surprisingly beautiful shades in here. This one called French Doors. Okay, this has a brightness that you wouldn't even believe. It looks kind of like blah. Is that just a random gray there? But there is a beautiful texture to these. Beauty Bakery does some great powders. I mean, I've raved on their highlighters, on their blushes, of course. But yeah, they know how to do eyeshadows as well. And I love this kind of dusty plum up there, this kind of berry shade. As the deeper shades start overlapping with some of these lighter colors that have some shimmer, I mean, it's such a beautiful look. And I think can make for a very delicate, springy lilac kind of look. But you want a smoky eye, boom, right there in the center. It can take you there as well. But what also does give this palette a little versatility, this shade here called Messy Hair, kind of a mauvey color, but has like, it's like a mix of mauve and rust. It's really unique. And if you kind of softly blend out with that, it will kind of warm up your look a little bit more than you'd expect. And then Forehead Kisses, this shade right up here, a little bit peachy. So there's some real versatility in this palette, but I do think those who enjoy cool looks, those who love plums would really love this. Again, the textures are phenomenal. And now a couple of face palettes that I want to recommend. I just don't think it's springtime without Cotton Candy Champagne. Again, with the giftable palettes, when you get this is so cutely packaged, and they put like these little pink cotton balls on the top of each of these, and they are so, so cute. This is kind of a celebratory palette. So if you've got somebody who is graduating and they're feeling kind of ho-hum because of all the quarantine, maybe you could brighten their day a little bit with a cotton candy champagne palette. I mean, it's so great. It is the best blush palette. Everything in here is glowy. It's all beautiful. I wouldn't reject a single one of these blushes. You're getting a large quantity of them, and for as pigmented as they are, you don't need to use a lot. You'll have this puppy for a long time. Today I'm wearing this shade. It's the one called Sip Sip Hooray, and it's giving me that beautiful, fresh, pinky glow. If you need a lift, if being quarantined is really getting on your nerves now and you're just like, I need something to lift my spirits, this blush palette on contact, upon application, it will make you happy. So if you haven't yet gotten on the cotton candy champagne train, now would be a great time. And then also the Cheek Stars palette from Benefit. This is the reunion tour palette, as they call it, because they've brought back some old faves, which I think is so cool. They've got Georgia in here. They've got Dallas, Sugar Bomb, and then Hula and Cookie, some real current favorites in there as well. Part of why I love this is for when I'm wanting just a quick look on a given day. I feel like it can be a very quick eye look in this palette as well. And also, it's just nice to have every single step of the face in here too. I've got my bronzer contour, I've got blush options, I've got the highlight, and I've talked before so much about Dallas and how unique that shade is. Out of this palette today, I'm wearing some of the Hula and some of the Cookie highlight, just a little bit of the Cookie, but I will show you some Dallas over here. Just get a little bit on the brush. And I like it a little bit lower on the cheek. It gives you just this kind of neutral blush look, hint of plum somehow. It's so, so lovely. And if you're somebody, maybe you're like, I'm not really a blush girl, I don't really love to wear a lot of blushes, I think you might love Dallas. You would probably enjoy the whole darn palette because Georgia's pretty soft, but it's a beautiful peach blush. And then Sugar Bomb gives you that shot at rosiness, but I also use some of these shades individually to create an eye look. Hula's also great as a crease shade. Hula and Dallas mixed is an amazing crease shade. And then don't forget about Cookie for every pop you need all over the face, not just cheek highlight. Dust it over the forehead very gently, put it on the center of your lid, corner of the eye, on top of the Cupid's bow, 1,000,001 uses. But guys, those are my top palettes for spring. I didn't really exactly rank them, I more so categorized them for you to make it make sense a little bit more, because I just like to categorize. I hope you guys are doing well. Be sure to check out Heather's channel. She is a total gem. Heather, thank you for doing this with me. Love you, and I hope you all have a great day. Bye, guys.